Now, I saw the original Ultraman when I was in kindergarten in the very early 80s. I didn't see it again until many decades later, and one of the things that really impressed me about the show was the insane production schedule they were on, and all the monsters they had to keep shoveling out every week. You can tell a few monsters get reused, and this one is obviously Godzilla with a frill, but it's still really impressive. As you may know, the original Ultraman was a spin-off of another show that was on the year before, from 1965 to 1966, Ultra Q. When I watched Ultra Q for the first time, I was really surprised to see how many monsters showed up in that show that went on to be reused in Ultraman. There are a few monsters that only show up in Ultra Q that are pretty neat, like this amazing-looking octopus monster, which was reused from Godzilla vs. King Kong, or this cool electric snail, or this devil child. I mean, this show is really weird. But I thought it would be interesting to go through and look at all the monsters from Ultra Q that get reused later in Ultraman. In doing this, we will also see how these two shows actually exist in the same universe. I'll go through these monsters in mostly chronological order, but I will be saving the very best one for last, and if you're a big Ultraman fan, I guarantee it will blow your mind. In the Ultraman opening titles, first off, as a hint to where this show really comes from, the titles start out with the Ultra Q logo. The Ultraman title only shows up after. If you've watched Ultraman, you should be able to name or recognize most of these monster silhouettes that flash by in the opening titles, but not all of them. That's because there are a few Ultra Q monsters hiding in here. Number 1. This one here is Goro from Ultra Q's second episode, Goro and Goro. Goro was a 150-foot monkey living near Monkey Mountain, and similar to King Kong, he was very misunderstood and eventually killed because he kept breaking all the nice things so that no one could have them anymore. While we never see the Goro suit show up in Ultraman, it was already a hand-me-down when we see it in Ultra Q. This is the King Kong suit from King Kong vs. Godzilla from 1962, and I always thought he was a bit wonky looking for King Kong, if you ask me. Number 2, the next silhouette we'll look at is this snail thing known as the Mars Monster Namagon, as seen in Ultra Q Episode 3, The Gift from Space. He is your basic giant slug monster from outer space, and fortunately for us, he's also just as allergic to salt and salt water as terrestrial slugs are. Number 3. Another mysterious silhouette is this monster here. This is Kanagon, the coin-eating monster from Episode 15 of Ultra Q, Kanagon's Cocoon. This character is really interesting. He starts off as a child who is really greedy, and then turns into this monster who has to eat coins to stay alive, but he continually grows more and more hungry the more coins he eats. This is one of the better Ultra Q episodes, in my opinion. While the suit doesn't show up in the original Ultraman series, in Episode 15, The Terrifying Cosmic Rays, we can see one of the children drew a picture of him. Kanagon does show up in some later Ultra series, such as Ultraman Z Earth and Ultraman Z, as well as a few other places, but we're not going to look into that right now. Number 4, here is a good one. How many times do you think Pigmon dies? Well, we see him die twice in Ultraman, in Episode 8, The Lawless Monster Zone, one of my favorites, and again in Episode 37, The Little Fiero. Well, guess what? He was only doing a repeat of his previous performance by also dying twice in Ultra Q. However, in Ultra Q, he's not Pigmon, the little monster, he's Garamon, a huge robotic monster who apparently wants to lead an invasion of Earth from space. He's first defeated in Episode 13, The Valley of Garadama, and comes back in Episode 16, The Revenge of Garamon, where some alien guy that we'll talk about in a minute tries to use Garamon to take over the Earth and fails miserably. The main difference we can see from Garamon to Pigmon, aside from their size, is the weird badge Garamon has, which I guess lets us know he's a robot. Of course, the obnoxious noise he makes while moving around is also a bit of a giveaway. Number 5. Since we're here on Episode 16, we can also mention Cicada Human, the alien who tried to control Garamon. The head part of that suit was taken to create the well-known Baltan aliens. We can see the modified head here in Ultraman Episode 2, Shoot the Invaders. The head is further modified with only Cicada Man's eyes remaining when the Baltans reappear in Episode 16, Science Patrol into Space, and Episode 33, The Forbidden Worlds. What's also kind of funny is that the Cicada Human and the Baltans use the same spaceship. Number 6. In Episode 14 of Ultra Q, Tokyo Ice Age, we meet Pegila, who attempts to start a new Ice Age for some reason, but is defeated by being hit with a plane. I mean, isn't that always the way? Pegila should be very recognizable to Ultraman fans as Chandlar, the monster who gets his arm torn off in Episode 8, The Lawless Monster Zone. Give him a hand, everyone. Number 7. In episode 18, The Rainbow's Egg, we meet Pagos, a monster who is very interested in stealing some uranium from some little kids, which ends up turning him into stone. Wow, does this monster suit have a long story? It started its life off as Baragon from Frankenstein vs. Baragon, not to be confused with Baragon from the second Gamera film. Totally different monster. Well, he's modified to play Pagos in Ultra Q, and is then altered to play the power station eating monster Naranga in episode 3 of Ultraman, Sally Forth Science Patrol. But he doesn't quit there! He shows up again in episode 8, the Lawless Monster Zone, as the cool tunneling monster Maglar. He then finally goes back to his uranium eating roots in episode 9, Lightning Operation, as Gabora. This monster got around. Number 8. In episode 19, Challenge from the Year 2020, we are introduced to Kamur, this weird alien who transports people to the year 2020 by spraying some goop out of the tentacle on his head. He does this in order to hold them hostage there for some reason, and we all know you can't escape from the year 2020. He meets his end by falling down and transporting himself to the year 2020. Good luck with that, buddy. We'll see Kamur again in episode 33 of Ultraman, The Forbidden Worlds, where the alien Mephilas creates illusions of several monsters. Kamur's head makes another brief appearance as the alien Zeton in episode 39, Farewell, Ultraman. Number 9. In episode 26 of Ultra Q, Blazing Glory, we meet Peter. Peter is a mysterious alligator tortoise who changes shape out of water and can predict the results of his owner's boxing matches, which he communicates to him telepathically. Peter is not too difficult to recognize as Gesra, the chocolate-loving lizard monster from South America who appears in Ultraman Episode 6, The Coast Guard Command. Number 10. Lastly, and by far the bestly, we have Ragon from Ultra Q Episode 20, The Primordial Amphibian Ragon. In Ultra Q, some fishermen find a huge squishy jelly bean, only to find out it's the Ragon's egg, and man, does she want it back. Once the egg hatches, everyone gets the gist of what's going on and give the baby back to Mama Ragon just before the island explodes and sinks into the ocean. The Ragon shows up again as a giant monster in episode 4 of Ultraman 5 seconds before the explosion. Hayata hypothesizes that this creature must have mutated due to radiation from an underwater nuclear explosion, which explains why he is huge and very angry. I believe this monster is supposed to be the baby Ragon we saw in Ultra Q. Let me prove it with the part of the story that is going to blow your mind. Do you recall the part of this Ultraman episode where the Science Patrol calls the Coast Guard to have them play music to the monster in order to calm it down? That part of the episode always seemed so random to me until we see the Ultra Q episode, Mama Ragon is hypnotized by music from a radio. The Ragon in Ultraman, having been mutated by radiation, does not react as a normal Ragon would, and thus instead goes nuts when he hears the music being played. Bonkers! I love that. The other funny thing is that both Ragons fall off a cliff. Anyway, parts of the Ragon suit live on in other Ultraman monsters. The main body part was reused for the alien Zarab, while some of its fins show up on Gesra and Geronimon. Groovy. Anyway, that one's been stuck in my head for a while, and I'm just glad it's out. Thanks for watching, and let me know if I've missed any monsters from Ultra Q that reappear in Ultraman, etc. Leave a comment or something so I can ignore it. Whatever. Thanks.